heads, one tail. Yang yin. Two tails, one head. Yang yang. Two tails, one head. Yang yang. Three tails. Old yin. Two tails, one head. Yang yang. 2 tails, 1 head. Yin yang. I'll read a passage from Awakening to the Tao. Another treasure from Taoist adept I-ming. This is a collection of 142 of the master's brief but admirably lucid essays on living according to the Tao. Written in 1816, when Lu was nearly 80 years old, this text encapsulates a lifetime of study and contemplation of the principles and practices of Taoism. The natural reality of the infant. When an infant is first born, it has no conscious knowledge, no attachment to pleasures and possessions, no sentimental bonds. It knows nothing of wealth or poverty, has no ideas of self, person, being, or life. For the infant, everything is open. Nothing defiles it, for it is indifferent, equanimous, purely natural. What I realize as I observe this is the Tao of restoration of innocence. If people are able to radically wake up and turn around, shedding attachments to things, to dwell in the realm of nothingness and formlessness, to uproot the senses and objects conditioned by history and sweep away the force of habit acquired in the present life, letting go everywhere to be open and clear, pure and clean. Then even if the body is old, then nature is restored. Outwardly one may be weak, but inwardly one is robust. This is the restoration of youth, the original state of the infant. Otherwise, one's natural reality is lost. Even if one is physically strong and fat as a pig or an ox, what is the benefit? Bellows. A bellows has holes on either side, and at the opening of each hole is a flap. Inside is empty, while the frame is straight. The emptiness inside is the essence. The straightness of the frame is the function. The two holes are the passages of exit and entry. The two flaps are the mechanism of opening and closing. As the frame is worked back and forth, taking in and pushing out, it empties without exhaustion, moves to produce wind, opening and closing naturally. What I realize as I observe this is the Tao of the essence and function of cultivating reality. If people can be essentially empty within and be functionally straightforward in mind, without bias, without greed, letting the celestial design flow through them, then firmness and flexibility will match each other. Action and stillness will combine appropriately. Indirectness and directness will attain balance, and they can be passive or active in accordance with the situation. Then people can share the same mechanism of energy as the sky, share the creativity of heaven and earth. This is like a bellows, inwardly empty with a straight frame, coming and going, breathing in and out naturally. As the working of energy does not cease, people can live long. The handle of the Big Dipper. It is said that where the handle of the Big Dipper points is auspicious, while where it sits is inauspicious. What I realize as I observe this is the Tao of turning around, the working of energy. The energy of strength in people may be likened to the handle of the Big Dipper in the sky. When the energy of strength is used outwardly, it is outwardly auspicious, but inwardly inauspicious. When the energy of strength is used inwardly, it is inwardly auspicious, but outwardly inauspicious. This is like the astrological belief that where the handle of the Big Dipper points is auspicious, while where it sits is inauspicious. After people are born and get mixed up in temporal conditioning, their strength is all used outwardly in the struggle to prevail. And the desire for power. They accept the false and abandon the real, which is injurious to the inner three treasures of vitality, energy, and spirit. Thus, beneficial energy is dispersed outwardly, while harmful energy is taken in. Over a long period of time, the positive is exhausted and the negative becomes total. Thus, death is inevitable. Therefore, advanced people turn the dipper handle around, in the sense that they use strength inwardly to destroy debilitating influences. Get rid of drainage through the senses. Cut off entanglements and sweep away objects. Not letting the false damage the real. Not letting externals disturb them inwardly. Beneficial energy grows day by day, while harmful energy disappears day by day. Eventually, beneficial energy is pure, and harmful energy is gone, so that they are able to live long. Lunatics and drunkards. If a lunatic jumps over a fence, he may stumble, but he will not get hurt. If a drunkard falls from a cart, he may get hurt, but he will not die. Why is this? Because they are oblivious of their bodies. What I realize as I observe this is the Tao of nurturing life and making the body whole. The life of human beings is dependent on the three treasures of vitality, energy, and spirit. When the three treasures are together, people live. And when the three treasures are scattered, people die. If you want to get the three treasures together, first you must be selfless. When selfless, the mind is open. When the mind is open, the three treasures do not leak away or dissipate. There is only increase, there cannot be decrease. Increasing without decrease, increasing and increasing, one will become inwardly fulfilled. When inwardly fulfilled, the creative mechanism will live on unceasing. Lunatics and drunkards can even avoid death simply by forgetting their bodies. How much the more so is it possible to preserve life by completeness of spirit, fullness of energy, and stability of vitality. Lifting the rope, lifting the collar. When you straighten out a net, you lift the main rope. When you fold a robe, you pick it up by the collar. This is a way of saying that you start something at the point essential to the whole. What I realize as I observe this is the Tao of preparing the basis of realization. The mind is the master of the body and is the basis upon which sagacity, enlightenment, and wizardry can be achieved. When the mind is quiet, all objects are silent. When the mind stirs, a jumble of thoughts arise at random. If you can be empty and clear, with nothing whatsoever on your mind, not producing thoughts from within, not taking in things from without, always responsive yet always calm yet always responsive, then even if you are daily in the midst of excitement and agitation, your mind will be clear as a mirror and still as a lake, without dust, without waves. Then you will naturally be unaffected by circumstances. Washing out gold, sorting out jade. Washing gold out from sand and sorting jades out from rocks cannot be done by acting at random. These processes require intense effort and thoroughgoing work. What I realize as I observe this is the Tao of practicing gradual cultivation. The true treasure of the primordial is like gold, like jade. The artificial things that are temporarily acquired are like sand and stone. When acquired artificialities bury the primordial treasure of reality, that is like sand and stone burying gold and jade. Therefore, if you want to seek the primordial reality, you must shake off acquired artificiality. That which is real is the conscious root of the unified primordial energy. That which is artificial is the influence of all kinds of actions over time. This influence, plus the energies of the forces of the acquired personality and constitution, with accumulated leanings, buries the one reality within myriad artificialities. Thus, since reality cannot be easily attained, it is necessary to use the power of gradual cultivation to shed the artificial in order that the real may appear. Shedding and shedding, until there is nothing more to shed, you see, when everything artificial is gone, that the real is spontaneously clear right there before your eyes. This is like seeing the gold or the jade when the sand or pebbles are cleared away. This is the accomplishment of sweetness after bitterness. Drawing water with a well sweep. When a well sweep draws water, the bucket goes down empty and comes up full, drawing water in a continuous cycle to water the fields. What I realize as I observe this, the Tao of the twin functions of emptying and filling. If people can empty their hearts and be humble towards others, they will receive benefits that will fill them within and elevate them beyond others. The more they become empty and humble, the more they are fulfilled and elevated. Continually becoming empty, continually being fulfilled, continually becoming humble, continually being elevated, so that one is empty yet full, full yet empty, low yet high, high yet low. One attains to a state in which above and below are in communion. Emptiness and fulfillment correspond. Filled with the qualities of the Tao, those who reach this state never fail to ascend to lofty and clear perception. When it says in the Book of Changes, accord is in lowliness, it is good to attend to people's psychological needs in detail. It is a general reference to the fact that the more elevated the path, the humbler the mind. The flowers and fruits of plants and trees. Plants and trees first flower and then produce fruit, each in its season. This is why they can live a long time. If they miss their season, this is a foresign of death because it is abnormal. What I realize as I observe this is the Tao of going along with time. What human life depends on is spirit and energy. When events take place, people cannot but respond to them. And when things come up, they cannot but deal with them. Using events to control events, organizing things according to what is there, not looking forward to what has not come, not dwelling on what has passed. The spirit is not injured and the energy is not dissipated. This is like plants and trees flowering and fruiting in season. This is the enlivening path. If people are greedy and passionate, ambitious and always conniving, forming strategies for events that are yet to come, clinging to events that have already passed, the spirit and energy become worn out. This is like plants and trees flowering and blooming out of season. This is the road to death. Therefore, wise people are as careful of their vitality and spirit as one would be of jewels. When they are used, they shine without dazzle. When put in storage, they are silent and still. Wise people act when it is appropriate to do so. Stop when it is appropriate to stop. Action and stillness in their proper place, they do not damage the real with the artificial. Effigies. Effigies made of wood or clay are basically inert. But if people sincerely worship them for a long time, miraculous effects ensue. What I realize as I reflect on this is the Tao of rising from death and returning to life. People from all over the world take what is artificial to be real and think what is misery is pleasurable. By day, they roam among the objects of the world. By night, they enter the realm of dream illusions. This is the road of death. There is no real life in it. The body may be alive, but the mind is already dead. One may exist physically, yet be spiritually deceased. When this goes on day after day, year in and year out, positive energy is used up and only negative energy remains. How can death be avoided? If you know the things of the world are all artificial and experience an intense awakening, reverse your direction and then are sincere and undivided, not thinking about anything but essence in life, being attentive and careful, guarding against insidious tendencies. Over a long time, your accomplishment will deepen. The mind will become spontaneously clear. The spirit will become spontaneously effective. Inner thoughts will not arise. Outer objects will not enter in. And there will be reality with no falsehood. Then you can move sky and earth, conquer demons and spirits, take over creation, overcome myriad things, level hell, ascend to heaven, open the door of life and shut the door of death, extend your years and enhance your life. Of this you can be sure. Lamplight. When lamplight shines inside a room, then the room is light while outside is dark. When the lamp is moved outside, then outside is light while inside the room is dark. What I realize as I observe this is the Tao of proper use of illumination. People's intellect and knowledge are like the light of a lamp. If that light is mistakenly used outside in a contentious and aggressive manner, aiming for name and gain, scheming and conniving day and night, thinking 1,000 thoughts, imagining 10,000 imaginings, chasing artificial objects and losing the original source, light on the outside but dark inside, this will go on until the body is injured and life is lost. If people give up artificiality and return to the real, dismiss intellectuality and cleverness, consider essential life the one matter of importance, practice inner awareness, refine the self and master the mind, observe all things with detachment so that all that exists is empty of absoluteness, are not moved by external things and are not influenced by sensory experiences, being light inside and dark outside, they can thereby aspire to wisdom and become enlightened. Light that does not dazzle progresses to lofty illumination. Therefore, a classic says, the great sage appears ignorant, the great adept seems inept. Our bottom trigram or inner trigram is broken, solid, solid. This is the trigram of Xun, wind or wood. Xun is both wind and living plants. Whatever penetrates, spreads, and grows, shaping itself to the space available or shaping that space to its own nature. She is responsive flexibility, sensitively improvising and adapting. Like the wind, she can always find a way through because she never creates any resistance. And so her influence is subtle and gradual, but far-reaching. In the family of trigrams, Xun is the eldest daughter, gentle and submissive. She belongs to the southeast until late spring and early summer. We will read our top or outer trigram of our primary hexagram as broken, solid, solid. So again, we have Xun, wind or wood, above Xun, wind or wood, for our first or primary hexagram. Once our old yin line transforms to its opposite yang line, so yang yang, I will give us a supporting hexagram where the top trigram or outer trigram is read as solid, 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 which will be Qian, heaven. Qian, heaven. Qian is suprahuman cosmic law. Enduring, he determines the nature and development of all things. From the movement of the stars to the cycle of the seasons to causing each individual seed to grow into its own kind of plant. Heaven is creativity in its pure form, the force that drives change and what endures within it. He confronts us with truth and what it demands, both as the absolute law of nature and as the challenge of individual calling, experienced as an inner law. He is both the awareness of what to do and how to be, and also the power to act on it. Heaven is Father, found in the northwest, the realm between autumn and winter, when the buds set and seeds fall to earth. So Xun, wind or wood, above Xun, wind or wood, will give us the primary hexagram of 57. Once our top trigram transforms to solid, 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 that will give us a supporting hexagram of 44. When we approach the oracle to consult the oracle or ask a question of the I Ching, it will have the general context of how can I act in creative relation with the spirits or forces shaping this moment of time? How we understand our answer to that question will be in taking in how the parts of our reading work together. The key to understanding a reading is to know your way around its main components, how they fit together, and the different roles they play. If your reading includes changing lines, which ours does, then you will need to understand primary hexagram, relating hexagram, and changing lines together. The two hexagrams in conversation with one another map out your whole answer. The primary hexagram shows you quite directly what your answer involves. The relating hexagram generally describes what the answer is about for you. It sets the primary hexagram in a broader context, an influence, a direction of travel, an underlying issue that has to do with you and your relationship to it all. If the two hexagrams map out a landscape for you, then the changing lines stick a pin in that map to say you are here, or at least here are some places you may find yourself. They are the immediate answer to your question. As the most specific, focused part of a reading, their message always takes precedence over all other elements. For example, the primary hexagram might describe a reassuringly secure situation, but a changing line could warn how insecure your position is within it. We will start by reading from I-ming's Taoist I-ming that he wrote in 1796 as a Taoist adept. Thomas Cleary has translated it for us. In the beginning, we have real succinct definitions of each hexagram. Our primary hexagram, 57, is defined as wind, progress by flexible obedience. And our supporting hexagram 44 is meeting, warding off negative influences, preserving the positive. We will start by reading the text section, which has changing lines in it that we can read to get our most focused part of our reading. Then we'll move on to the commentary section, which doesn't say anything about changing lines. But often is very fruitful. Wind. Wind is small but developmental. It is beneficial to have somewhere to go. It is beneficial to see a great person. Explanation. Wind is penetration and laying low, meaning gradually making progress by flexible obedience. In the body of the hexagram, one yin lies below two yangs, traveling the path of firmness by means of the path of flexibility, not hurrying yet not lagging, gradually progressing step by step, obedient within and obedient without, obedient below and obedient above, going from near to far, rising from low to high, like the wind going farther and higher as it blows, reaching everywhere. Therefore, this is called wind. This hexagram represents progressing on the path by flexible obedience. It follows on the previous hexagram, richness. In richness, understanding and action are united so that one can deal with things adaptively, passive or active at will, essence in life depending on oneself and not on fate. However, the path of uniting understanding and action is not easily accomplished. It cannot be done without the work of gradual progress by flexible obedience. If one is flexible and obedient, one can endure long. By gradual progress, one can penetrate. Flexible obedience, making gradual progress, getting stronger with persistence, working without slacking off, will eventually arrive at deep attainment of self-realization. Therefore, wind is small but developmental. But though the ability to obey is a way of development, there are those who know about obedience but cannot practice it. There are those who can follow the low but not the high. There are those who can follow the high but not the low. There are those who can obey when it is pleasant, but not when it is unpleasant. There are those who can obey in the beginning, but not in the end. All of these are unable to really carry out the path of obedient progress. So even though they try to follow it, they do not get through. When we look for obedience in which knowledge and action are both effective, firmness and flexibility are employed together, able to be above and below, competent in both ease and adversity, effective both inwardly and outwardly. Unified from start to finish, we find that only great people with balance and right orientation are capable of this. Therefore, it is beneficial to have somewhere to go, and it is beneficial to see a great person. A great person considers essence in life important, considers the Tao and its qualities valuable, looks upon the ephemeral body as like a dead tree, looks upon wealth and status as like floating clouds, is inwardly always more than fulfilled, while outwardly appearing insufficient. Truly applies real practical steps, making gradual progress, mind firm and will far-reaching, determined not to rest until the great path is completed. Therefore there is benefit. Those who are not great people cling to partiality. They obey and follow without balance or correct orientation. How can they get anywhere to any benefit? So the benefit of going somewhere is only for the great person. Sorry, hold on. Our secondary hexagram is 44. That was my cat, Maggie Rogers. "44 meeting. Meeting the woman is strong. Don't get married." Sorry, meeting the woman is strong. Don't get married. Explanation. Meeting means encounter, unexpected encounter. In the body of the hexagram, there is one yin which enters under 5 yangs. 5 yangs meet one yin, so it is called meeting. This hexagram represents warding off mundanity and preserving celestial energy. It follows on the previous hexagram, increase. Increase means augmenting insufficient celestial energy. To augment what is insufficient means adding from 1 yang until there are 6 yangs, so that finally positive celestial yang is pure and complete. However, when yang culminates, yin is inevitable. 1 yin surreptitiously arises and the yang energy is damaged. This is why the text says, meeting the woman is strong. However, the inevitability of yin when yang culminates is the path of the temporal, going along with creation. If one can borrow the earthly to complete the celestial, the sage's science of reverse operation to get back to the primordial, and, as in the 2nd and 5th lines of this hexagram, have strength and balance, attaining the power to adapt to changes, having flexibility within firmness and firmness within flexibility. One can thereby go in and out of yin and yang without being constrained by yin and yang. Using yin without being used by yin is like meeting a woman but not marrying her. Though earthly yin energy be strong, after all it will obey celestial yang energy. Not only will the yang energy not be damaged, the yin energy will gradually sublimate. This is why the work of warding off mundanity is valued. We'll now read our changing line from our primary hexagram 57. Which was changing line 4, which has the general context of the capacity for action, asking how the work can be done. Keeping in mind this is our most focused part of our reading. Sticks a pin in the map to say you are here, or at least here are some places you may find yourself. Takes precedence over all other elements. Regret vanishes. The yield of the field is of 3 grades. Explanation. When one is only flexible and has no strength or firmness, it seems like one is too weak to reach deep attainment, and so there is regret. However, when flexibility is correctly oriented, near to superior strength, obedience, following superiority, gains balance thereby. This is one grade of yield, the superior. When one approaches strength in a lower position, obedience following the strength below and being balanced thereby, this is the inferior grade of yield. As yin dwells in the midst of yang, not losing correctness regardless of accord or opposition is the middling grade of yield. When the 3 grades of great medicine, superior, middling, and inferior, return to the center, yin and yang merge. The gold elixir takes on form. This is purely the living potential. It is like planting crops in the fields, all of them maturing. What regret will not vanish? This is the obedience of balance and rectitude when weak. We will now also read the commentary section on our primary and secondary hexagrams. Primary hexagram 57, wind. Wind above, wind below. Wind following wind. Thus do superior people articulate directions and carry out tasks. Wind symbolizes gradually entering. Above and below is wind. One wind arises first, another wind follows after. Wind following wind is the image of harmonious progress. What superior people see in this is that since practitioners of the Tao live with people, they cannot but have tasks, and since they have tasks, they must carry them out. Generally speaking, to carry out tasks calls for serenity without rush. If one carries out tasks hurriedly and without first articulating directions for those who share in the tasks to clarify why they are thus and so, then people will not follow along and the tasks will not be fulfilled. Therefore, superior people first articulate directions and then carry out tasks. Articulation means clarification. Directions are instructions. Tasks are whatever people should do, things like cultivating character, accomplishing works, accumulating achievements and deeds, taking burdens upon oneself for the benefit of others. Directions are not only the orders of the rulers to be ruled, or to be ruled. The instructions given by the honorable and experienced people who exercise leadership in affairs to less developed people are all called directions. If directions are articulated before tasks are carried out, then the people will know those tasks are to be done. One person takes the lead and many people follow behind, so that all tasks are successfully carried out. This is like wind following wind, the two winds continuous, going together without mutual interference. This is the way superior people do good with others. Supporting hexagram 44, meeting. Heaven above, wind below. There is wind under heaven, meeting. Thus do rulers announce their directives to the four quarters. Meeting is getting together. Above is heaven, below is wind. There is wind under heaven. Heaven creates myriad beings but cannot stir them. It is with the blowing of the wind that myriad beings stir. Thus heaven gets together with myriad beings through the agency of the wind. This is the image of meeting. What rulers see in this is that just as heaven and myriad beings are far apart and cannot easily get together, but with the blowing of the wind, those who have not gotten together do meet. In the same way, rulers are far apart from their subjects and cannot easily get together. But with the announcement of directives, those who have not met can in fact meet. Therefore, they give out directives for the education and guidance of the people, announcing them to the four quarters. The four quarters are distant, and the local customs are not the same. How can everyone be taught personally? But when rulers give out directives, then everyone follows their direction, and those far and near are affected. This is like the wind under heaven, reaching everywhere, getting into everything. The ruler is heaven. The directive is the wind. Where the wind reaches, things stir. Where the directive reaches, the people are guided. The way sages teach people is also like this. Just as rulers have directives that they announce to the four quarters, sages have classic writings that they use to teach later generations. They leave classic writings in the world for later generations, and students who hear them are stirred. Those who read them are inspired. Even 100 generations later, people are roused and come face to face with the sages. The influence of the sages does not extend only to the four quarters of their own time. When rulers and sages love all beings and are in sensitive contact with all beings, they are upholding the practice of heaven. James Dekorne has synthesized several commentaries on the I-ming on his website, jamesdekorne.com. You can download his entire I Ching commentary list as a PDF if you were to do so, or you can use his website. I've left links to it in the description, but we will turn here to what he calls penetration, hexagram 57, and see some of the wonderful things that he has compiled. Other titles might be the gentle, the penetrating, wind, the symbol of bending to enter, willing submission, gentle penetration, ground, calculations, complacence, penetrating influence, the penetration of the wind, humility, devoted service, submission, judgment. This is by Legg. Penetration indicates modest success. See the great man and move in the direction that implies. Wilhelm/Baines, the gentle. Success through what is small. It furthers one to have somewhere to go. It furthers one to see the great man. Blofeld, willing submission. Success in small matters. It is advantageous to have in view a goal or destination and to visit a great man. This is a reasonably auspicious hexagram. It augurs a certain amount of success for those who submit to circumstances. Unless a moving line indicating the contrary is received, this is not a time for resistance, but for submission. Liu, penetration, small success. It is beneficial to go somewhere. It is beneficial to see a great man. Ritzema/Karcher, ground, the small, growing, harvesting, possessing directed going, harvesting, visualizing great people. This hexagram describes your situation in terms of providing an underlying support. It emphasizes that subtly penetrating and nourishing things from below, the action of ground, is the adequate way to handle it. To be in accord with the time, you are told to enter the situation from below. Slofnacy, calculations, little receipt, beneficial to have some place to go, beneficial to see the great man. All right, and now to this section, the image. Leg. Two wind trigrams follow each other, form penetration. The superior man proclaims his commands and undertakes his work. Wilhelm/Baines. Winds following one upon the other, the image of the gently penetrating. Thus the superior man spreads his commands abroad and carries out his undertakings. Blofeld. This hexagram symbolizes a favorable wind. The superior man performs his allotted tasks in consonance with heaven's, or the sovereign's will. The component trigrams combine the concepts of wind and blandness, hence a favorable wind. Cleary, 1. Wind following wind. Thus do superior people articulate directions and carry out tasks. Wu. One breeze follows the other. This is complacence. Thus, the Junsi, or chief son, or superior person, gives further injunctions in order to administer public affairs. Commentary. Confucius/Legg. Repeated wind trigrams show the repetition of governmental orders. The dynamic fifth line has penetrated to his correct central place and carries his will into action. The magnetic first and fourth lines obey the dynamic lines above them. Hence it is said that there will be success in small matters. Legg. Penetration symbolizes both wind and wood and has the attributes of docility, flexibility, and penetration. We are to think of it as wind with its penetrating power, which finds its way into every nook and cranny. Confucius said, "The relation between superiors and inferiors is like that between the wind and the grass. The grass must bend when the wind blows upon it. In accordance with this, the hexagram must be understood as the influence and orders of the government designed to remedy what is wrong in the people. The upper trigram denotes the orders issuing from the ruler, and the lower the obedience rendered to them by the people. Cheng Tzu says, superiors in harmony with the duty of inferiors issue their commands. Inferiors in harmony with the wishes of their superiors follow them. Above and below, there are that harmony and deference, and this is the significance of the redoubled wind trigram. When governmental commands in business are in accordance with what is right, they agree with the tendencies of the minds of the people who follow them. Anthony, getting this hexagram often refers to the presence of inferior elements that obstruct our having a good influence. Because this hexagram is concerned with self-correction, we often get it together with work on what has been spoiled. Hexagram 18, repair. Notes and paraphrases. Judgment. Get to the heart of the matter and act on the information obtained. The superior man acts on his understanding by implementing it in the world. The hexagram of penetration, made up by 2 trigrams symbolizing wind, which is air in motion, suggests the activity of thought, the realm of air, trying to comprehend or penetrate something. Thus, each line of the figure may be seen as some aspect of an act of mental endeavor. This is a quote from Cheng Yi. Therefore, the student must exert his own mind to the utmost. If he does so, he will know his own nature. And if he knows his own nature, examines his own self and makes it sincere, he becomes a sage. Therefore, the great norm says, the virtue of thinking is penetration and profundity. Penetration and profundity lead to sageness. The first line depicts vacillation and indecisiveness. The second shows one trying to get to the bottom of a matter. Line 3 is an image of futile hypothesizing. 4 and 5 show 2 aspects of successful comprehension, and the 6th line symbolizes an inability to understand. A quote from Elizabeth Hayek, Initiation. Man's intellect, the greatest but most dangerous gift he has received from God, builds a bridge across the seemingly unconquerable chasm between that which is personal and mortal and that which is impersonal and eternal. Through man's intellect, he succumbed to the temptation to fall out of divine unity with his consciousness. But by the same token, his intellect gives him the possibility of bringing back his consciousness into full union with divinity. By means of his intellect, man is able to understand truth. And when he has understood, he will seek and keep on seeking and trying until he someday succeeds in finding the only path to the realization of his self. The hexagram can also symbolize humble submission and devoted service, thus suggesting the role of the ego in the work. To truly comprehend the nature of the work is to serve it with devotion. There are some interesting associations between the act of penetration and that of submission. When dynamic and magnetic are in full harmony, they lose their individual identities and become one force, which is both and neither. Supporting hexagram 44, he calls temptation. Other titles might be coming to meet, the symbol of meeting, contact, sexual intercourse, encountering, coupling, infiltration by inferior men, adultery. Quote from D.F. Hook. Contains a definite warning about a person or situation which may appear harmless but will prove dangerous. Judgment. Leg. Temptation shows a female who is bold and strong. It will not be good to marry such a female. Blowfold. Contact. Women wield the power, do not marry. At this time, marriage would be unfortunate. The husband would almost surely be henpecked. Lu, encountering. The female is forceful. One should not marry her. Ritsama/Karcher. Coupling. Womanhood invigorating. No availing of grasping womanhood. This hexagram describes your situation in terms of the encounter of primal energies. It emphasizes that seeing through your personal situation as the connection of objective forces is the adequate way to handle it. Couple. Ku. Intense, driven encounter, at once transitory and enduring, that is the reflection of primal yin and yang. Meet, encounter, copulate, mating animals, magnetism, gravity, to be gripped by impersonal forces, primal forces, couple in the inner world, seeding, enduring new forms. The image, leg. The image of wind with the sky above it forms temptation. The sovereign, in accordance with this, delivers his charges and promulgates his announcements throughout the four quarters of the kingdom. Blowfold. This hexagram symbolizes wind blowing across the face of the earth. When the ruler issues commands, he has them proclaimed in every corner of the world. Ritsama/Karcher. Below heaven, possessing wind, coupling. The crown prince uses spreading out fate to command the four sides. Fate, I-ming. Individual destiny, birth and death as limits of life. Issue orders with authority, consult the gods. The ideogram, mouth and order, words with heavenly authority. Commentary. Confucius/Leg. Temptation has the significance of unexpectedly coming on. We see in it the magnetic line coming unexpectedly on the dynamic ones. Marriage is improper because one so symbolized should not be long associated with. When heaven and earth meet together as here represented, all the variety of natural things becomes displayed. When a dynamic line finds itself in the central and correct position, good government will nourish all under the sky. Great indeed is the significance of what has to be done at the time indicated by temptation. Leg. A single magnetic line enters at the bottom of the hexagram. This is the figure used to represent the time of year when light and heat begin to wane. In the divided line, we see the symbol of the inferior man beginning to insinuate himself into the government of the country. His influence, if unchecked, would go on to grow and fill the vacant seats with others like himself. The objective of the judgment is to arouse resistance to this evil influence. Temptation is defined here as a sudden and casual meeting with something inferior. The divided line is seen as appearing all at once in the figure. The first line, magnetic, in a dynamic place, becomes the symbol of a bold woman of more than questionable virtue who appears unexpectedly on the scene with the object of seducing all five of the dynamic or male lines to herself. No one would contract a marriage with such a female, and every good servant of his country will repel the entrance into government of every officer who can be so symbolized. On the first two sentences of the Confucian commentary, the Kang-Hsi editors say, the magnetic line meets with, or comes unexpectedly on, the dynamic ones. The magnetic line, that is, plays the principal part. The case is like that of the minister who assumes the power of decision in place of the ruler, or of a hen crowing at sunrise. Is not the name of shameless boldness rightly applied to it? Notes and paraphrases. Judgment. Do not unite with an inferior element in your situation. Lead us not into temptation. The superior man formulates his code of conduct and abides by it. Wilhelm translates the 44th hexagram as coming to meet, and Blofeld gives it the rather startling subtitle of sexual intercourse. There is no doubt at all that the figure has an aura of illicit excitement associated with it, which I feel is best conveyed by R.L. Wing's title of temptation, though adultery might also be suitable. One sometimes receives this hexagram under dramatic circumstances, and it serves to dump cold water on a potentially volatile series of choices and their equally volatile consequences. When we consider the importance of the proper correlation of male and female lines in the I-Ching, we see that the judgment in this hexagram can psychologically depict the temptation to an adulterous union of thought and feeling. Adultery is a very useful metaphor for understanding the principles of the work. It means union with anything which, in I Ching terms, is not a proper correlate. To adulterate something is to degrade a pure substance by the addition of an inferior ingredient. The image of a temptation to adulterate the work in this hexagram is therefore a warning in the strongest possible terms that you are vulnerable to some inferior choices. A quote from Swedenborg in Apocalypse Explained. Consequently, by marriages, not only the earth's, but also the heavens are filled with inhabitants. The earth indeed may be filled with inhabitants by fornications and adulteries as well as by marriages, but not heaven. The reason is that hell is from adulteries, and heaven from marriages. When the procreations of the human race are effected through marriages in which the holy love of good and truth from the Lord reigns, then it is done on earth as in the heavens, and the kingdom of the Lord on earth corresponds to the kingdom of the Lord in the heavens. The concept of the hieros gamos, or holy marriage, is a ubiquitous archetype found in every tradition rooted in the perennial philosophy. If this marriage symbolizes a proper union or reunion of previously separated elements, then it follows that the opposite situation, a union of mismatched entities, would be symbolized by adultery. To recreate a primordial gestalt of perfection out of an exploded multiverse of mixed forces demands that all of the original pairs of opposites become properly matched correlates. Although any two opposite genders might feel a mutual attraction, there is really only one opposite, which is an appropriate spouse. In the realm of human relationships, this is evoked in the concept of the soulmate. Esoterically speaking, every polarized force in the multiverse has its proper correlate. It follows that the work, in its largest conception, cannot be completed until each is reunited with each. A quote from the Gnostic Gospel of Philip. Indeed, every act of sexual intercourse which has occurred between those unlike one another is adultery. Members of a race usually have associated with those of like race, so spirit mingles with spirit, and thought consorts with thought, and light shares with light. If you are born a human being, it is the human being who will love you. If you become a spirit, it is the spirit which will be joined to you. If you become thought, it is thought which will mingle with you. If you become light, it is the light which will share with you. The point is important enough to bear repeating. Psycho-spiritually interpreted, sexual intercourse and marriage symbolize the possibility of a unification of forces. Conversely, union with an improper correlate means adulteration of the work. This is the esoteric meaning underlying the Hindu caste system. Quote from the Bhagavad Gita 1:41. When unrighteousness overwhelms the family, O Krishna, the women of the family become corrupt. And when, O Krishna, the women are corrupt, there arises a mixing of castes. The mixing of castes is, in the symbolism of the I Ching, the union of improper correlate forces. Women, as we have seen, usually symbolize the emotional and feeling aspects of the psyche. We readily recognize that the above quotation from the Bhagavad Gita accurately reflects the symbolism of the 44th hexagram, reiterating the great truth that when emotions make the choices, the unity of the psyche is compromised. Added notes that he added in September 7th, 2010. Sometimes this hexagram is received in answer to queries related more to a fated or karmic situation than anything normally regarded as temptation. In these cases, Ritsema/Karcher's expanded notes on the ideograms are useful guides. Gripped by impersonal forces, primal forces couple in the inner world, seeding enduring new forms. This hexagram describes your situation in terms of the encounter of primal energies. It emphasizes that seeing through your personal situation as the connection of objective forces is the adequate way to handle it. That was our supporting hexagram. We will now read changing line 4 in our primary hexagram 57 penetration, which has the general context again of the capacity for action, asking how the work can be done. Line 4, leg. The fourth line, magnetic, shows all occasion for repentance in its subject passed away. She takes game for its threefold use in her hunting. Blowfold, regret vanishes. 3 kinds of game are caught in the field. Commentary, Confucius/leg, she achieves merit. Wilhelm/Baines, this is meritorious. Blowfold, the second sentence augurs concrete results. Ritsema/Karcher, possessing achievement indeed. Cleary, there is success. Wu, he has succeeded. Leg, line 4 is magnetic, as is her correlate in line 1, but 4 is a proper place for a magnetic line, and it rests under the shadow of the dynamic and central 5th line. Hence the omens of evil are counteracted, and a good auspice is obtained. The game caught in hunting was divided into 3 portions, the first for use in sacrifices, the second for the entertainment of visitors, and the third for the kitchen generally. A hunt which yielded enough for all these purposes was deemed very successful. Notes and paraphrases. Su, the man gains praise by counteracting evil. He can now meet his needs for offerings to the gods, for everyday use, and for guests. Wing, energetic action will yield successful results. You will be able to satisfy all your needs if you modestly yet confidently confront your adversaries. Anthony, in finding and being resolute against evil in ourself, we have solved all the problems facing us at the moment, which seem to be totally unrelated. This is the meaning of 3 kinds of game. Editor, 3 is a number symbolizing the reconciliation of opposites in a new entity. Thesis, antithesis, and synthesis. It also suggests the unconscious, conscious, and superconscious realms of the psyche. A hunt is a quest, and game is nourishment. Psychologically, the insights gained from the quest. In combination, the symbols describe a nourishing synthesis, and the implication is that you are sitting pretty. Perhaps your penetration into the matter at hand has produced some fresh understandings. A quote from W. Westcott in The Chaldean Oracles of Zoroaster. Will is the grand agent in the mystic progress. Its rule is all-potent over the nervous system. Yet there is not one will, but 3 wills. The wills, namely, of the divine, the rational, and irrational souls. To harmonize these is the difficulty. He breaks the possible definitions of changing line 4 down into A and B. A, an image of integration, reconciliation, consolidation. B, congratulations, you've just comprehended a complex issue. We will also see what Hilary Barrett has to say. Her I-ming, walking your path, creating your future, is often pretty profound and also practical. Our primary hexagram 57, she calls subtly penetrating. Key questions. How can you get to know this from the inside? What is taking shape? Oracle. Subtly penetrating, creating small success. Fruitful to have a direction to go. Fruitful to see the great person. Subtly penetrating means becoming part of something or someone. It describes all-pervading influences like the wind shaping the landscape. You penetrate subtly by feeling your way into things, yielding gently to their nature. You shift your own ideas and expectations and come to understand the situation from inside, on its own terms. And so, as you allow things to shape you, you also reach a place where you can shape them. The old Chinese character for subtly penetrating shows a stand bearing the official seals a ruler would bestow on those he trusted. Someone who bows down and accepts a seal is submitting to the order of things, entering in and receiving his place within it. Then his seal, sign of personal authenticity, endows him with influence and the power to make his mark. Whatever penetrates subtly becomes influential, not by acting on situations or people to change their nature, but by becoming part of their nature and acting in them. Because it never acts as an antagonist, it never creates resistance and permeates everywhere. Such influence does not bring sudden transformations. It works imperceptibly in tiny increments, only creating small success. It is useful to align all these small shifts with a single intention that lends direction to the changes. And, whether you see them in the flesh or with your inner eye, it's good to have a clear vision of the great person, a model of the larger possibilities implied by small success. Image. Wind follows wind, subtly penetrating. A noble one conveys mandates and carries out the work. Winds beget winds, movement creates movement, and the influence penetrates everywhere. This is a time to use your own inner seal of office to translate what moves you inwardly into your influence in the world. When a noble one receives a mandate, she conveys it onward by sending out orders, and so her indirect influence reaches further than direct action ever could. Sequence. Subtly penetrating follows from hexagram 56, traveling. The traveler has no place where he is accepted, and so subtly penetrating follows. Subtly penetrating means entering in. The traveler followed his own path and minimized his interaction with his surroundings, not expecting to change them or be changed by them, but presently the traveler must come home. There is a time for acceptance and the interpenetration of inner and outer worlds. Pair. Subtly penetrating forms a pair with hexagram 58, opening. Opening, seeing, subtly penetrating, hidden away. Some things are in plain view, some are hidden away. Among people, there is explicit communication, and there is the subtle interpenetration of lives in countless small ways. And 44, our supporting hexagram, she calls coupling. Key questions. What would be an adequate response to this new energy? How far could this change go? How far will you let it go? Oracle. Coupling. The woman is powerful. Do not take this woman. Coupling means meeting, and also a woman who gives birth to the heir, the powerful woman. She represents someone of either sex or something with a profound and mysterious power to attract you, to take over, and to change everything. She moves you, re-energizes, and gives birth to new life. The oracle warns you not to take the woman, not to try to seize control of her, and not to marry her. Do not imagine that you can bring her under control, assimilate her into your life, and continue as before. Such a marriage cannot last. This woman has more power than any system where you might try to contain her. She might bring desires that undermine a well-balanced life, or an eruption of feeling into a realm of abstractions, or chance and irrationality to threaten a logical, ordered mind. Perhaps you will stand fast and resist this power's attraction. Perhaps you will embrace her briefly and let your life be transformed by the encounter, but you cannot take her to marry her. Image. Below heaven is the wind, coupling. The prince sends out mandates and commands to the four corners of the earth. The wind travels everywhere under heaven and penetrates every corner of the world. The prince receives the mandate, orders from heaven, and it penetrates to his core and travels through him. He cannot control or contain such power, but he can broadcast it to change his whole realm. Sequence. Coupling follows from hexagram 43, deciding. Breaking through must mean meeting, and so coupling follows. Coupling means meeting. Hexagram 43 broke through indecision and separated cleanly from all that did not belong. Now, whatever you excluded comes back to meet you, and opens a space where unknowable possibilities can enter. And then again, we will read our changing line from hexagram 57, which is line 4, which again has the general context of the capacity for action, asking how the work can be done. And once again, this is the most focus point of our reading. Line 4. Regrets vanish in the field, taking 3 kinds of game. Not all you hope for comes to you, but as you allow your regrets to dissolve away, you can enter into the present moment with all its uncertainties in the positive spirit of the hunt. You broaden your scope to see the many different possibilities available to you and gain all you need. We'll now turn to a passage in the Tao Te Ching. Or possibly multiple. Not that multiple. We can do maybe this multiple. Yeah. 44, 28, 59, and 53. Fame or self, which matters more? Self or wealth, which is more precious? Gain or loss, which is more painful? He who is attached to things will suffer much. He who saves will suffer heavy loss. A contented man is never disappointed. He who knows when to stop does not find himself in trouble. He will stay forever safe. Know the strength of man, but keep a woman's care. Be the stream of the universe. Being the stream of the universe, ever true and unswerving, become as a little child once more. Know the white, but keep the black. Be an example to the world. Being an example to the world, ever true and unwavering, return to the infinite. Know honor, yet keep humility. Be the valley of the universe. Being the valley of the universe, ever true and resourceful, return to the state of the uncarved block. When the block is carved, it becomes useful. When the sage uses it, he becomes the ruler. Thus, a great tailor cuts little. $59. In caring for others and serving heaven, there is nothing like using restraint. Restraint begins with giving up one's own ideas. This depends on virtue gathered in the past. If there is a good store of virtue, then nothing is impossible. If nothing is impossible, then there are no limits. If a man knows no limits, then he is fit to be a ruler. The mother principle of ruling holds good for a long time. This is called having deep roots and a firm foundation, the Tao of long life and eternal vision. And 53. If I have even just a little sense, I will walk on the main road, and my only fear will be of straying from it. Keeping to the main road is easy, but people love to be sidetracked. When the court is arrayed in splendor, the fields are full of weeds, and the granaries are bare. Some wear gorgeous clothes, carry sharp swords, and indulge themselves with food and drink. They have more possessions than they can use. They are robber barons. This is certainly not the way of Tao.